Hello everyone and welcome to Charade for round 5 out of 7 of the 2019 Season 2 of the F1 Classic 1967 series. Charade of course was a very long circuit in France, over 3 minutes long in fact, even when you get it absolutely perfectly right, and we're currently watching Yucca Drug going around the bottom part of the circuit in qualifying. Just through the windier parts of the circuit, you see the fence on one side, the banks and the trees on the other side. It's not what you see as a conventional racing circuit, but still very, very exciting. And of course, we've seen all season long that this league is a very exciting one in its own right. In terms of the championship so far, it's still Tim Muttram leading that, and I believe by 4 points. Let me just have a look at the championship standings. Indeed, 4 points separate Tim Muttram and Yucca Drug at the top of the standings. They're actually both one win apiece, as from 4 races so far, we have had 4 different winners. Third place, Matteo Santini, has actually done 1 fewer race than Muttram and Drug, and is only in 3rd place in the championship as a result. 4th place, Daniele Scarpa, who unfortunately was only able to do the Bridgehampton round last time out. I don't actually think that he's doing this round either. However, he did manage to win at Bridgehampton, putting him to 4th in the championship. 5th place in the championship is Fabrizio Ferrante, followed by Phil Brown, Lewis DeVore, John Van der Geest, Max Shepard, Lauren Lons, and those are the top 10. We're just watching Yucca Drug as he completes his first flying lap. He's in the latter stages of the course, just coming up towards the final corner at the Virage Rosier, and then I might well try to show you a full lap of this charade circuit. So out of the final corner comes Drug, and his lap time, the lap to beat, is going to be a 3:03.266. Let's have a look back to someone who's about to start a lap. Fabrizio Ferrante, he's perfect. Let's watch on board with Fabrizio as he completes his first flying lap and goes on to his second one. He's just gone through the first corner, and then we have a short straight as we head towards the second turn, and the second turn is a long right-hander known as the Courbe de Manson. There's a tricky concrete wall on the outside. You need to make sure you don't hit that because that would be extremely painful. Up the hill now towards a couple of fast left-hand kinks, very much Nürburgring style. They are known as Le Golf. And then up the hill some more, and through a dip before we go into a hairpin at Le Belvedere. Important to get the acceleration right out of there. These cars have a lot of power and not much downforce, so under acceleration they do tend to twitch quite a bit. This next right-hander is Le Gemou, and he gets it turned in rather nicely there. This whole section actually is known as Les Gemous, and I'm not entirely sure how that translates into English, but probably means something like the Wiggles or something like that. This is the section of S's that I was talking about when we saw Drug coming through them at the start. Incidentally, Drug's fastest lap so far, over a second faster than anyone else's, but as we watch on board with Ferrante in the Cooper, he is attempting to get closer to that lap with this one. This next corner is known as Graveneur, and from my limited knowledge of French, I believe that means dark and black, or something along those lines, before we head through La Carrière. And onto probably the longest flat-out part of this course. You're flat-out from La Carrière all the way through, or, well, not quite flat-out as you can tell, but very nearly flat-out through Carrefour de Champeau. And then finally a braking zone at Virage de la Ferme there. De la Ferme, of course, is a chicane, which sets you up for the final point on the circuit. The section of track that I like to call the Star, as the bottom of the track looks very much like a pointy little star, or a system of routes, or something like that. The corner we've just been through is Virage de Pont, Virage Petit Pont, sorry. And that hairpin there doesn't have a name, but it's probably the tightest corner on the track. As he gets very, very sideways at Tetra de Thetis. Not the greatest of lines, but keeps it under control. Meanwhile, Drug improves his lap. There's the final corner, Virage Rosier, and out to start another flying lap. And what was that lap? It was a 3:04.404, putting Fabrizio Ferrante up into second place. Let's have a look back at other drivers about to complete flying laps. Is Bill Garucock on a lap potentially? I think he may be. He's just coming up past the hairpin. That's a nice shot actually. I do like that camera angle there. John Van der Geest goes up into 4th position. And I believe that Bill Garucock may well be driving the only Brabham in the field today. I don't think there are any other Brabhams. There may be. But from what I know of, there aren't. Through Virage Rosier, and the lap for Bill Garucock is going to be... In fact, he's just starting a lap, so that wasn't an improvement from him, because, of course, he wasn't actually on a lap there. Sorry, I should have seen that. Ooh, up to second place goes Laurent Lons. There he is. And Lons has a Cooper here today, the red Cooper. So look out for that car later on. And it's a 3:04.198 for Lons. Really not a bad lap time at all. Let's have a look back at Tim Muttram. Championship leader, kicking it very sideways in the Honda. Very sideways. And we've seen that's very much his driving style, as I enthuse about every single round. Because it's just spectacular to watch. Now, what part of the track is he at? I think, judging by the formation of the corner, he's just entering Les Gemous. I think. Les Gemous, of course, being the hairpin. The windier chicane section of the circuit. And yeah, indeed, that is Les Gemous there. And he'll be heading out towards Gravenois. Probably my favourite named corner on this track. Oh, look at that. Kicks it out towards the grass. And lesser experienced drivers would lose control there, as the rear wheels try to break away from the front after losing grip on the grass. And again, he touches the grass, but keeps it very nicely under control. Continues to fly around this Charade circuit. Still, Yucca Drug's so much faster than anyone else, as we have now less than 3 minutes in the session to go. So, not many more opportunities for these guys to really start attacking. You see there where the short circuit joins on. So, we're off the road circuit section of this track now, and onto the permanent track layout. I say permanent, it hasn't been used in quite a few years, so not that permanent. And now he heads up towards the hairpin. My favourite shot on this track. Locks up the front right. Meanwhile, Luis Dufour goes up to second place. Ooh, and Muttram makes a mistake there, goes off the road. Dufour's lap was a 3:02.717. Second place for him so far. Final corner for Muttram. Not final corner, sorry. Got confused there, but final sector for Muttram anyway. And looks to me as if this isn't going to be an improvement for him. Although it was looking good until the final sector, unfortunately. Crosses the line. No improvement. And starts another lap. Let's have a look up to Fabrizio Ferrante. He was second for a long time in the session, and then got demoted by a couple of guys. He's only 0.004 of a second off Muttram for the time being. And he is just in the Les Gemous part of the course. So Ferrante in the Cooper knows he can do better and wants to prove it. We're not going to be getting an improvement from Dufour or Lons. Both of those are in the pits. So if anyone is going to challenge Drug, I expect it's going to be either Muttram or Ferrante. Also not going any faster will be Van der Geest and Tudal. Meanwhile, Max Shepard jumps up into 7th place. Shepard not a fan of these longer circuits, but putting in a decent lap anyway. Bill Grucock goes to 9th and then pulls into the pits. And we continue to watch Fabrizio Ferrante flying around and going off onto the grass, flying too hard, I think, flying too high, and spins the car around, loops it on the grass, and I'm afraid that's going to be it for Fabrizio Ferrante. So only 3 guys still on track, on laps now, and those are Drug, Muttram and Shepard. Let's watch Muttram. I think he's going to be the only driver who has at least a small chance here of demuting Drug. With no disrespect to Shepard, of course. And I think Muttram is just entering the... Now that's Gravenoir, isn't it? I think so, but he's made a mistake and he's in the wall. So that's going to be it for Tim Muttram. He had a big twitch mid-corner, and that's going to be it. And there's no real point watching Drug because he doesn't need to go any faster. So let's just see what Max Shepard can do on his final qualifying attempt. I believe he's off. Indeed, he is. So we'll go up to Drug. He is also pulling off, but has taken pole position. So Yucca Drug takes pole position by almost 7/10 of a second, followed by Lewis Dufour, Laurent Lons, Tim Muttram, Fabrizio Ferrante, John Van der Geest, Max Shepard, Steen Tudal, Bill Grucock, Marty McClune, and Jens Vroos. So that's 11 drivers. And that's the order they're going to line up in. I'm glad to see, actually, that we do have Marty McClune here, because he was saying before the race he didn't think he'd start the race, but it looks as if he will, and that's very, very good to see. So just waiting for Tim Muttram to return to the pits. He's not going to be going any faster on this lap, as he stuffed it into the wall a few minutes ago, but obviously just getting some valuable extra practice in, just completing the lap to see how it feels before the start of this race. In fact, let's ride on board with Tim Muttram as he comes back to the pit, just so you can see his unique driving style. He kicks it sideways at every single corner, just so he gets the maximum power that he can. He gets on the power as soon as he can, and he just controls the slide, and it's fantastic to see. And parks it nicely in the pit lane. So that is it for qualifying. And the race will start in just a couple of minutes. This circuit, the Circuit de Charade, also known as the Circuit Louis Rosier and Circuit Clermont-Ferrand, was a Grand Prix racing circuit opened in the 1960s, I believe. It hosted, 1959, when it hosted the French Motorcycle Grand Prix. It hosted the French Grand Prix a couple of times as well. Hosted it in 1965 for the first time, and also hosted it. Let me just find out. Never mind. Actually, hosted it in 72, and oh yeah, here we go. 65, 68, 69, 70, and 72 were the French Grand Prix held at this circuit. Let's prepare for the lights now. The lights are about to come on to start this race. And I cannot find the leaders. Here we go. Let's start it from this camera view. Yucca Drug from the front row of the grid alongside Lewis Dufour. And the race gets underway. Let me just get to a good camera view. And through turn 1, it's going to be Yucca Drug leading us away, followed by Lewis Dufour. So Dufour gets through in second. Tim Muttram will be challenging in third place. Then it's Ferrante in fourth. Then Shepard up to fifth. So a great start from Shepard. Van der Geest, Lons, Grucock, Tudal, and Brown, the top 10, heading through the opening couple of corners. over the crest, and Laurent Lons is dropping badly. Laurent Lons is dropping to the back, and that's because he's nowhere to be seen. He's over the barrier. So Laurent Lons, I'm afraid, on the wrong side of the barrier, and he's on a little dirt road. I'm not entirely sure where the track is from here. I don't know if he knows either. Well, that's a big shame for Laurent Lons. Hopefully he can find the track again. Also a slow start for Marty McLoone. And we seem to have gained a driver as well. So someone has started this race who didn't do qualifying. They all stream through Les Jamus, and Bill Grukok has a big off. Has Lons found the track yet? Well, he's found the barrier. I'm not sure if he knows where a gap in the barrier is. It looks pretty open to me, but I don't think... Yeah, you can't get through that. Okay, well, that's a big shame. And hopefully he knows... Ah, and Drug's off! Drug's made a mistake! So our leader's made a big mistake there. Run wide onto the grass and has been passed by Defour and Muttram. So Louis Defour leads the race, followed by Tim Muttram. And Yucca Drug drops to third. He's under attack immediately from Fabrizio Ferrante, and off goes Defour. Defour's off. So a lot of mistakes coming at the lead of this race, and suddenly Defour loses the 2 places again. So Muttram goes to the lead. Drug is second, and Defour is third. And in the space of just a couple of corners, we've had 2 leaders going off. Drama at the front of the order, and Tim Muttram is leading in the Honda, followed by Drug and Defour. And they're still in the same order as they crest the hill. Laurent Lons has now officially retired from this race, unfortunately to say. So as we near the end of the first lap, big lock up there from... is that Max Shepard up to 4th? It is. So Shepard has just passed Fabrizio Ferrante and got up to 4th position from 7th at the start. Biggest mover in the grid. 7th to 4th. And probably his highest running position in this league as well. I'm not sure if he ran higher at all at Zandvoort. I don't think he did. So probably his best race yet. And at the end of the first lap, the order is Muttram leading as he crosses the line, followed by Drug, and then Defour in 3rd place. Max Shepard is 4th, followed by not Santini. That is a glitchy order. It's going to be Ferrante 5th, Van de Geest 6th, then Tudal, Brown, and who is 7th? The order not updating itself. Oh, sorry, 9th. It's Jens Roos. I'm afraid Bill Grukok had to come into the pits. Martin McLoone is a long way back, so he obviously had issues on this opening lap. And that's how the order stands. And already Muttram has built his lead out to 2 seconds. So with the leader's mistakes at the start, suddenly the lead has really started to be built up. And Muttram is getting away. Meanwhile, Defour's dropping. What's happened to Louis Defour? Looks as if he's had a spin. He's had another one trying to get going. So Defour floundering in the middle of the track. And it's gutting for Defour. He looks as if he was in such a good position near the start of this race. He led the race for about 2 corners. And then unfortunately had an off. And now he's had another big one. And he's dropped to 9th. Meaning, Yucca Drug is back up into 2nd place, and Max Shepard is up to 3rd. Goodness me. Ooh, slight mistake there for Shepard though. And Ferrante's right in his tail. So this is the fight here for 3rd position between the E... Oh, and Shepard's off! No! Ah, that's gutting! And he's going to be so frustrated with that. Because Shepard does tend to get frustrated with these cars. He's had an unlucky time with them so far this year. And unfortunately just a slight twitch mid-corner. And he drops to 7th. Luckily doesn't appear to have got much damage. But what is happening with the leaders today? That puts Ferrante up to 3rd. Van de Geest 4th. Tudal 5th. And Brown up into 6th. And I'm quite a good friend of Max Shepard's. And I'm... Pretty disappointed to see that, but whatever the case, Tudor makes a mistake, and through into 5th place goes Phil Brown. So a change of position there, and that means Brown is now up into 5th position. He's had a very up and down championship so far. He was 2nd in the championship coming out of the first round, and unfortunately has dropped to 6th after a couple of mistakes in the past few rounds. Has made every race, which is important, but yeah, unfortunately has been dropping down the championship. Much more so than he would have liked. Not that he would have liked to have done so at all. Here's John van der Geest now chasing down Fabrizio Ferrante for 3rd place. We could have another change for podium positions imminent. Tim Muttram sets the fast lap of the race on the 2nd lap, so continues to pull away from his rivals. He is absolutely flying out in front. As we saw him as we saw him doing right at the start of the series. Good morning to, good evening. I don't know when we are in the day anymore. To Brett Metcalf and the French Baguette, who both are joining us in the YouTube stream and in the YouTube chat. Good to see you both here, and I hope that you're both enjoying this so far. And I will be reading out YouTube comments all the way through this race. So leave any points or questions that you have. But yeah, it's good to see you saying hello, and hope you're enjoying it. And still at the end of the 2nd lap, the order changed again. It's now Muttram, Drug, Ferrante, van der Geest, then Brown, the top 5. And unfortunately, we've lost Marty McLoone, meaning 10 drivers remain out of the 12 starters. I'm wondering, actually, whether the driver who didn't do qualifying was Phil Brown, but I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to check that. May also have been Steen Tudor. Brett Metcalf says from South Africa, actually. Well, good. Hello from England, which is where I'm based, and welcome to our South African friend. Good mix of nationalities in SimRacingOnline, actually. It's a very international league. And great to see people from Europe, from South Africa, sometimes from as far as America. Haven't seen many Australians, but I'm pretty sure there have been some. Of course, we have Tim Muttram out in front for the UK, immediately followed by Jukka Drug, who is a Finn, and Fabrizio Ferrante is Italian, so 3 different nationalities in the top 3. And another one to add to that list is John van der Geest in 4th place, who's Dutch. So 4 in the top 4. And SimRacingOnline prides ourselves with being an inclusive community, and one who welcomes people wherever you are in the world, whatever race you are, and whoever you may be. Meanwhile, John van der Geest still sticking onto the back of Fabrizio Ferrante's car, trying to hold him as well as he can. Very banked corner there towards the late stages. It wasn't designed that way, it's just because it was built on the side of the hill. Means you can get a lot of grip through that. Final corner also slightly banked, but a much tighter and slower corner. Meanwhile, Jukka Drug sets the fastest lap of the race, and the fastest lap is, of course, worth a point. And I think we've had a change for 6th, as Max Shepard appears to be making his way back up the order. He's just past Steen Tudor, so Shepard making his way up into the points again. And he's on a recovery drive after his spin into the wall last lap. Want to keep an eye, though, on van der Geest versus Ferrante, as this is the top true battle we have in this race, separated by less than half a second through that last split there. And also out in front, I should point out, the Drug is slowly catching Muttram. Of course, he's been free of Defoe for a little while, and now he's starting to catch back up to Tim for the lead of this race. Possibly a lead battle imminent as well. In fact, for the first time since the first lap of the race, they're now separated by less than a second. Let's have a look at that lead battle. This is Drug, right on the back of Tim Muttram. And these two have fought at quite a few rounds so far this season. They both have one win apiece. They both have one pole apiece. They both have one podium apiece. In fact, now who took pole for this race? It was Yucca Drug, wasn't it? Meaning, Drug is our first double pole sitter of this series. So Drug now has 2 poles to Muttram's 1, sorry. And pole position is also worth a couple of points. Let me just check how many that's worth. There's 4 points separating them in the championship. Pole is worth 1, and fastest lap is worth 1. Oh, as Van der Geest has passed Ferrante. So Van der Geest has passed Ferrante for 3rd, and Ferrante's already dropped back a bit. I reckon he made a mistake there. And it looks as if he's coming under attack now from Phil Brown. So John Van der Geest up into the final podium position so far. And here's Phil Brown on the back of Ferrante. Meanwhile, if they are to finish this race, if this race was to finish right now, then the championship leaders will be separated by just 2 points. Scratch that, sorry, because they'd be separated by 3 points. Flip, ignore me, 5 points. Heck. Sorry. It's because Muttram, of course, would gain 3 points over Drug for winning the race. And Drug would gain 2 points over Muttram for pole and fastest lap. And they're already separated by 4 points, meaning that Muttram would ultimately score 1 point more than Drug. Another lap gone. And still it's Muttram from Drug. Separated by 1.5 seconds there. It's close. And also close 3rd and 4th, of course. Van der Geest versus Ferrante. Ferrante already starting to bring the gap back again slightly. But here are the leaders still going at it. Drug hanging back for the meantime. Doesn't really have a choice, as this isn't a part of the circuit that you attack on. And Muttram's just so good and so fast and so consistent. With all due respect to Drug, he has made more mistakes than Muttram so far today. Muttram had that one spin at the end of qualifying, which may have cost him a better grid position. But aside from that, he's been pretty much flawless. And I hope I'm not cursing him by saying that. And still, you see how the tail of his car kicks out through the S's. That's just how he drives, and it's spectacular to see. In the John Surtees Honda. Meanwhile, Yucca Drug is in the Graham Hill Lotus. It's hard to see the lines in his helmet from right here, but that is a Graham Hill Lotus. No difference, of course, with the Jim Clark Lotus apart from the livery. Both Lotus 49s. Definitely the fastest car of the series. But the Brabham ended up winning the championship for more consistency as Ferrante has a massive twitch. Oh, and Muttram's lost a lot of time to Drug there. Drug right in his tail end. Caught him massively as they entered the permanent part of the circuit. And there may be an attacking opportunity on here for Drug if he can get close enough towards some of the heavier braking zones towards the end of this lap. Muttram running slightly wide there, but keeping it nicely under control. This circuit still exists, incidentally. I've seen videos from people walking around it. However, it's not used anymore for racing, and hasn't been since the 70s, unfortunately. Very dangerous circuit, pretty long, and very old-fashioned. At the completion of another lap, Drug made a slight mistake there in the final few corners and has dropped to 1.6 seconds behind. Closer for third place, Van der Gies versus Ferrante, still separated by less than a second. But it's hard to overtake it, Charade. There aren't really any long straights. This is probably the longest perfectly straight bit of road you get. There are a couple of heavy braking zones towards the end of the lap, but again, pretty tricky to pass, especially since these cars are so agile. They corner like fleas. And again, Drug gets onto the back of Tim Muttram. Less than half an hour to go in this race now. We've done over 15 minutes. Let's have a rundown of the order, in fact. As actually, no, the leader's getting very, very close in that braking zone there. I was wondering if something was going to happen. Drug definitely in attacking range. They're just coming through the Jammu part of the course. The next, oh, and Muttram's gone wide. Muttram made a mistake, ran wide, and through into the lead goes Yucca Drug. I'm going to have a look at that on the delayed stream to see if I can spot what exactly what happened. Did Muttram possibly have a twitch mid-corner? Whatever the case, Yucca Drug is up into the lead of the race. For the second time, he led it off the line, took pole position, and indeed it does seem to be just a little twitch from Muttram. His car got a bit unsettled there through the Jammu section of the course. And Drug took the lead. And in terms of the order, let me just put my microphone in a position. There we go. It is Yucca Drug now leading from Tim Muttram in second position. Still less than a second back though. These two leaders definitely still not over yet. This lead battle still on. John Van der Gies is third place, followed by Fabrizio Ferranti fourth. Phil Brown is off in the gravel. Through goes Max Shepard into fifth place. And do we have damage for Phil Brown? He's twitching around. But I think that's just how the car handles anyway. It appears to be... Doesn't appear to have made too much damage, picked up any damage, so possibly just a... Oh, he's in the wall again! Touches the wall. Touches the wall there at the left-hander, Le Petit Pont. Quite a funnily named corner, to be honest. But whatever the case, that puts Max Shepard up into fifth place, as Yucca Drug sets another fast lap of the race. 3:03.8, wow. 0.894. Phil Brown is sixth after that spin. Steen Tudel is seventh, just outside of the points. Louis Defour is eighth. Bill Grucock in ninth place. And Jens Roos in 10th. And I should correct myself, actually. I said that Bill Grucock may be the only Brabham. Jens Roos also has a Brabham. As does, I think, Steen Tudel. Yeah, so 3 Brabhams in this field. Couldn't really be more wrong there. So sorry about that. And off goes Drug! Again, there's a mistake for a leader! And he's recovered to the circuit, but again, behind Muttram. But he's still side by side with him. Can he hold him on the inside? Maybe just about. Muttram puts the power down. And they're side by side, heading down towards the Jammu part of the course. And somehow, despite hitting the wall, Yucca Drug holds the lead of this race. And that couldn't have been much more tense there. That couldn't have been much closer. Drug is so lucky to still be in the lead of this race there. Looks as if he just outbraked himself, possibly got a wheel on the grass, and then it just dragged him off, and off he went into the barrier, and somehow holds the position from Tim Muttram. I really thought we'd be seeing them swap places, but Yucca Drug appears to have got away again with no damage. You can see Muttram in his mirrors, and Muttram will be so frustrated at that. They were separated by less than a second before that all happened, and really they pretty much had swap positions. The only two factors that kept Drug ahead there were the directions of the next few corners. Very much suited the side of the road that Drug was on. And also Yucca Drug's insane bravery. I mean that in a good way, of course. Just a fantastic, fantastic bit of defensive driving from Yucca Drug, disregarding the mistake, of course. And as they head down through the Carrefour de Champeau into Virage de la Firma again. Sorry, wrong part of track. That was actually Le Petit Pont. Muttram has another look to the outside, but I feel he may have got off a little bit worse from that. Not really an attacking line, more of just a wide line. And Yucca Drug won't really believe his luck and believe the fact that he's still leading this race at the end of all of that, at the end of this lap. It really couldn't have been much closer, and Tim Muttram got a bit sideways there through the final corner. And now we head up the second straight towards Courbe de Manson again. Muttram getting it a little bit wrong there, getting over the curb, and he's going to be losing some time through that. And it looks as if Drug may finally be building a margin. So let's look back to this fight for third place between Van de Geest and Ferrante. Eagle versus Cooper. Of course, Cooper didn't win a race in the 1967 season. It's ironic that we're going to Charade because the 1967 season was actually a year that Charade missed because Formula 1 went to Le Mans for the French Grand Prix. The only time that Formula 1 has ever been to Le Mans. Of course, they didn't run the full de la Surf circuit, only the shortened Bugatti circuit. As Ferrante there continues to hound Van de Geest. And the drivers said, actually, that they didn't want to go back to Bugatti because it really didn't suit Formula 1 cars. And several drivers actually withdrew from that race, which in the end was a 1-2 for Brabham. Jack Brabham first, Denny Holm in second place. Of course, that circuit continues to host the motorcycle Grand Prix, just not Formula 1 races. And Charade would return for the 1970, I think, 69 Grand Prix would be the next time they raced at Charade, as they went to Rouen in 1968. But whatever the case, we're racing at Charade here, and it still does very much fit the era. And the cars look great here, and they run well here too. You can tell that you can tell that these cars were based or were meant to do circuits like this because of their extremely spongy suspension to deal with all of the bumps and jumps that come with a hilly road circuit with fast sweeping corners. Although, of course, these cars are not designed to crash on these circuits, as they were extremely dangerous and would often catch fire or crush the drivers. And yeah, it was a very, very dangerous era for Formula 1. It's a good job that we're being able to revive them on simulators rather than racing them in real life. 20 minutes remaining in this race. And Ferrante is still glued to the back of Van de Geest's car. He's been within a second of him for an extremely long time, yet hasn't quite been able to attack him. Not quite. He's been so close so many times, but hasn't yet been able to do it. He's in the slipstream here, heading into Le Golf. But of course you don't get much of a slipstream in these cars, and even if you do, the straights are over too quickly. And the leaders are closing up again. Muttram there was within a second of Drug. Goodness. So this podium is anyone's game. Who's going to take the win? Will it be Drug or Muttram or Will? And fingers crossed that this doesn't happen. Will it go wrong? Could end up being Van der Geest. I'm not wishing that on them, but anyway. And who's going to get third? Could it be Van der Geest or Ferrante? Or maybe someone different. With still over 18.5 minutes to go. It's anyone's game, pretty much. Especially up the front. And we've seen a couple of mistakes from leaders, quite a few mistakes from leaders, all the way through this race so far. So it's certainly not out of the question that that Drug could make a mistake and give Muttram an opportunity to go through, much like he did on the first lap, and much like he very nearly did later on as well when he touched the wall, and then somehow miraculously fended off Tim Muttram. Of course, we are racing the 1967 F1 mod here at the F1 Classic Series. This mod was designed by Dr. Doom's Lab, who often tunes into our streams. And if you're watching this back afterwards, Dr. Doom's Lab, I love your mod. It's a fantastic, fantastic addition to the game, and it provides us with some brilliant racing. The simulator is Assetto Corsa, which is seen by many as being probably the best simulator for classic single-seaters. The physics for this mod in particular, based off that from the old Grand Prix Legends game. Meanwhile, Tim Muttram sets the fastest lap of the race, takes it off Drug, and Ferrante has taken third place. So off camera, Ferrante has passed Van der Geest and gone up into third. I want to keep an eye on the leaders though, as Muttram is back in the slipstream of Drug as they head up the hill over the crest and towards Le Golf. And Muttram continues to chase Drug. At a circuit like Charade though, he very much needs Drug to make a mistake in order to have an opportunity. Also, I'm afraid Steen Tudel has pulled into the pits. So possible issues there for Steen Tudel. Let's watch from this camera here on board the roll hoop of Tim Muttram's car. You see how you have to drive these 1967 cars, as one of the top drivers. You angle the car towards the corner, and then you either have a tap on the brakes or you lift off. You don't even don't heavily brake pretty much at all, and then you get on the throttle as early as possible and control the slide much like that. You're all-wheel drifting through the majority of these corners. Also, I think we've just had a move further down. It was just Steen Tudel losing other places from the pit lane, of course. So here comes Tim Muttram up towards the right-hander. We're just heading down the hill, and this next corner, Vera Stella Firma, which is, of course, around about where the permanent track joins on. Towards Le Petit Pont. And again, you see how much you have to four-wheel drive these cars. Four-wheel drift these cars. Ooh, a little bit late on the turn in there from Muttram. There's a real groove through that corner, and you want to stick yourself in that groove. But anyway, he knows better than I do, as he's a much faster driver than me. I mean, I think so anyway. I've never raced him, although I'd love to. And speaking of that, actually, if you're watching this and you want to get involved, as Team Tudor has now officially retired, unfortunately. But if you're watching this and you want to get involved, you absolutely can. It's completely free to enter. All you need to do is go onto the SimRacingOnline site, which is www.simracingonline.co.uk, and go to the F1 Classic 1967 Series Season 2 broadcasted section and hit register, and that's it. Of course, you need to have Assetto Corsa and this mod by Dr. Doom's Lab already installed. But aside from that, it's completely free, and absolutely it would be great to see you getting involved, and it would be fantastic to see more drivers in this series. These are some wonderful, wonderful cars to drive and wonderful cars to watch, and it's a great friendly league as well. There's always someone to race no matter where you are in the order. And of course, we have a lot of different people of a range of different abilities racing with us. Meanwhile, Muttram was a lot quicker than Drug there through Jamu, sorry. Ooh, both of them dipping wheels into the grass at Gravenoir, sorry. Let me translate what Gravenoir means actually. I think it means dark and black, but we'll see. Muttram still chasing Drug. This last section of the course appears to be where Drug is stronger, and it tends to be... Oh, and he's made another mistake! Drug did make a mistake there as they went over the crest of the hill, and Muttram went around the outside, and Tim Muttram leads the race. And he goes off! So Tim Muttram makes a mistake as well, and they're side by side again, and there's very nearly contact in Le Petit Pont. And again, Jurka Drug gets back up into the lead of the race. Somehow, he won't believe his luck there. Leaders keep making mistakes in this race. It's such a tricky circuit. And the lead keeps changing. It was just a big slide from Jurka Drug. And then, let me have a look at also what happened with Tim Muttram. He just went wide and got onto the grass. Goodness me. And he's still attacking Jurka Drug, heading out towards the start-finish straight. In fact, he's got the better exit to that final corner. They're side by side again down the start-finish straight. And as they go through turn 1, Drug has the inside line and keeps the position, but Muttram will have the overspeed on the exit and a slight amount of slipstream. Can he come back at him here towards turn 2? Has to take a wider line, try to get on the power sooner. This is brilliant racing between the two of them, but a couple of mistakes on both sides. And incredibly, Jurka Drug continues to lead this race. Ooh, apparently this is according to Translate anyway. Gravenoir means black and serious. I tell you what, that's quite a corner name. So I wasn't far off. Literally black serious, of course, but anyway. Or serious black. Still, Muttram attacks. Well, gears up for his next attack, I should say. Less than 10 minutes to go in this race. This looks like another good opportunity to run through the order as it is. It's Yucca Drug leading the race, somehow. Followed by Tim Muttram. Fabrizio Ferranti is third. He's been getting away from John van der Geest, who is fourth place. In fact, the leaders have a 20-second advantage over Ferranti. And Ferranti has 7 seconds over van der Geest. Then it's Max Shepard running well in fifth place. Phil Brown in sixth. Louis Dufour in seventh. Bill Grucock is eighth. And then the final runner still in the race is Jens Roos here in ninth position. So 9 drivers remaining, and still they fight out front. There hasn't been a quiet period in this entire race so far. It's been flat out furious. And Drug still just about maintaining it from Muttram. So up the hill they go, and towards the end of the circuit again. I don't believe the shorter circuit was ever used for Formula 1. They always used the longer layout of the circuit, of course. Muttram really does have to grunt out of that final corner. But that last lap, of course, for him was slower. Despite the fact I still think he has the fastest lap of this race so far. Which means that if they finish like this, with Drug first and Muttram second, that's really going to close the championship up. Drug will score 3 points, I believe, more than Muttram. Meaning they'd be separated by just 1 point in the championship, with Muttram ahead. Heading into Longford, which is the next round. Of course, the final 2 rounds of this championship are going to be at Longford in a week's time. And then... Oh, Muttram's off! Muttram is in the grass! Muttram's made a big mistake, and that's dropped him a long way off the tail of Yucca Drug. Big mistake from Muttram, and that's going to give Drug some breathing space. That might well be exactly what Drug needed, exactly what he was looking for. And unfortunately, that may well be race over unless Drug makes another mistake. Huge mistake from Muttram, and he's going to be gutted with that. And now all Drug needs to do is consolidate that lead for the remaining 6 minutes and 23 seconds of this race. Let's take this opportunity to go back and look at some other runners. Let's look first at Fabrizio Ferranti. Still doing a good job in third position. The top Cooper in this race. A couple of other Coopers. Brown is in a Cooper, as is Dufour. But Ferranti is the leading one of those so far. And this is actually Fabrizio Ferranti's first round. Flippin' heck, he's made every other round of the series. I don't know where he got that from. Pulled that fact out of thin air. It's not his first round of anything. He's currently running 5th in the championship, and he's the top driver not to have won a race yet. He'll want to change that in the remaining two races of the series. Providing he doesn't win this one, but of course he is 24 seconds behind our leader, so that's going to be, well, pretty unassailable, I'm afraid. And Ferranti, the Italian, has only ever raced with us in the classic F1 series. Hopefully he'll join us for some other leagues in the future, but anyway. He did the previous F1 Classic Series with us as well. Did a good job in that, finishing second in the overall championship, winning the final round at the Feldberg Ring. And also taking 2 pole positions. It was a really decent performance from Fabrizio Ferranti, and he's still putting in decent performances now. As Yucca Drug on that last lap, without the pressure of having to defend from Muttram, suddenly sets an even quicker lap, goes fastest of anyone. And that means that if they were to finish like this, Drug and Muttram would be equal on points in the championship. And I believe that it would then go down to the better average finishing position, which would be, I think, pretty much equal between the two of them. Yucca, of course, would have more wins. So I'm going to say that if they're to finish like this, Yucca Drug will just about take the lead of the championship. However, if Muttram can take the fastest lap back, and that's not entirely undoable, because impossible, sorry, because of course these tires don't go off like real, like modern tires, sorry. So the cars will still be running just as well now as they were at the start of the race, pretty much. But yeah, Muttram needs to take fastest lap here, or pass Drug if he wants to go into the final round of the, the final 2 rounds of the championship in the lead. Ooh, Esperanto there has a little bit of an off on the inside. Meanwhile, Bill Grucock is catching the back of Lewis Dufour in the fight for 7th place. These two, of course, outside of the points for now, as points only go down to 6th position. However, if someone ahead of them has a problem, this could end up being a fight for points. And this is a Cooper versus a Brabham. Brabhams have been surprisingly unpopular in this league. Of course, it was a Brabham, or 2 Brabhams, sorry, that won the real-life 1967 F1 Championship. First and second, with Denny Holm and Jack Brabham. However, they haven't proven to be very popular cars in SimRacingOnline, and I don't think they've had a win yet. Pretty sure they haven't, actually. Oh, and that looked to be a mistake from Grucock, and it is. He goes into the grass. I saw him twitching midway through the corner, and off he went. Meanwhile, onto the final lap go our leaders. Just 1 lap to go in this race now. And then it's going to be equal on points in the championship, providing Muttram doesn't take fastest lap. Here's Max Shepard, running in 5th position, which I believe will be a personal best in this league for him. I'll double check that, but I believe that is. Indeed, that's going to match his personal best, as his personal best in this league was a 5th place at Riverside, round 1 of the series. Although his personal best results with SimRacingOnline have been 3 second places, which he's also taken in historic racing cars. He took 2 second place finishes in historic F3 at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, and also a 2nd place at Imola. And he owes 2 of those mistakes due to me making a mistake. So, anyway. Possibly even 3, come to think of it. The timer is about to tick to 0. The leaders are in the 2nd out of 3 sectors of this course. And you see there John van der Geest, a couple of car lengths ahead of Shepard. Doesn't look as if it's going to change. Let's ride on board with Shepard actually and watch this charade circuit from a driver's eye view. Don't worry, I will catch the leaders crossing the line at the end of the lap. In fact, let's switch to Yucca Drug now and watch him coming through the final sector of the course. Yucca Drug has driven, well, he has driven brilliantly. He's driven better than everyone else, but he's made a couple of mistakes. Still, despite those mistakes, he's done brilliantly well to hang on to it, to hang on to the win. I wouldn't say it's been a flawless race, but it's certainly been a good one. And of course, you can never argue that the winner has done the best job. Well, you can sometimes, but in this case, there's no argument. And Drug is about to enter the final corner. And somehow, despite everything that happened to him, despite the number of times he went off and into the wall, Drug is going to win at Charade. Drug is the winner. Second place is Tim Muttram. And that means that they are going to be equal on points. Joint championship leaders heading into the final round of the final 2 rounds of the championship. I don't know why I'm convinced it's the final round coming up. It's not. It's the penultimate round. Fabrizio Ferrante is going to take 3rd place. He comes around the final corner now to take his first podium of the series. And there he goes, 3rd place. 4th was John van der Geest. 5th is going to be... Well, 5th was Max Shepard, who's already finished. 6th is going to be Phil Brown. Of course, he was running 5th earlier until a spin. But still manages to maintain a point for 6th place. Crossing the line now. And it's actually going to be pretty close for 7th place. Defour and Grucock are still fighting, actually. Coming into the final sector of this lap. And it looks as if Defour might have it there. Oh, and he's definitely going to have it now, as Grucock's had a big spin into the barriers. Lewis Defour crosses the line in the Joe Siffert Cooper to finish 7th position. Bill Grucock is, I think, going to finish. Yes, he's finished 8th, and 9th place was Jens Roos. So there you have the finishing order. Drug, Muttram, Ferrante, Van der Geest, Shepard, Brown, Defour, Grucock, and Roos. And our retirements were Tudor, McLoone, and Lond. And we head into the penultimate round of the championship in a week's time at Longford with 2 championship leaders. And that is Muttram and Drug equal on points. Let me just check that Drug did score the fastest lap. Timetable, he did indeed, by over 0.2 of a second, meaning that they are equal on points. And that means that we are going to have a 10th showdown to this championship. Thank you everyone for joining us here today, and we will see you all in 1 week's time from Longford. Join us then, and goodbye.